want to have a go. It makes me connect to my inner child. Whilst we were waiting, we could talk about some books. And this is your sign to give it a go and see how you feel. Hello friends, welcome back or welcome here. I've just made myself a rather interesting concoction. I wanted a chai latte, but I also wanted a coffee. So I've combined the two, a sort of dirty chai, if you will. It's a little bit hot to try that just now, but I will do so in a little while. I hope you are all doing so well. Welcome to the new flat if you're new here. We just moved about a week ago today and it's starting to come together. You can see a little bit of furniture. Oh, little sneaky peek, but it's very bare in this room, so I apologise if it's a little bit echoey today. The last month or so, but especially the last couple of weeks, have been super hectic, as you can imagine, with the whole moving process. And so I want to take today as sort of a self-care day and sort of just a day of fun things, but I do also need to do a couple of productive things. Spend the morning just cleaning the house, the flat. Not particularly interesting, but very needed. So for the rest of today, I want to treat myself to just having a lovely time doing things that I really enjoy. So the first thing I'm going to do is enjoy my tea coffee combination, and I really want to have a go at doing a different kind of makeup look. It's not totally different from what I normally do, but it's just a bit more glowy and sun-kissed, and I've been seeing it a lot on Pinterest and Instagram and seeing a lot of people wear it. And while I don't think I'm probably going to execute it exactly this way, I don't know if I'm brave enough to fully commit, I just want to have a go. And I haven't put any makeup on yet today, so I thought we could do that together. I'm starting with Nooks. This is their multi-purpose dry oil. I just have this teeny tiny bottle like this. It's really nice. It sits really well on the skin, it sits really well under makeup, and it just adds this lovely glow to the skin. I don't really know if it's coming up on camera, but it just looks really pretty and I really enjoy it. Maybe I should have put my hair up before. Let's do that now. I also really need to cut my fringe, but I haven't had the time and I can't be bothered doing it today, so just bear with me for that. Next, I think I'm going to do a little bit of foundation. This is number 7 Essentially Natural foundation. I always use my fingers for foundation. I do have a foundation brush, but I just find it goes a bit streaky. This is a really lightweight coverage foundation, which I enjoy. And then before I get in with the more exciting stuff, like the cheeks and the eyes and stuff, I'm gonna just do my eyebrows. So give them a little brush. I'm using the Tarte Amazonian Clay brow powder. I feel like as I've got older, I definitely have a very different relationship with makeup. In high school as a teenager, more like when I was, I suppose, 16, 17, used makeup in a way where I really liked experimenting. I was really into like eyeshadow and eyeliner and just kind of expressing myself a lot more through makeup. I would put a lot more time and effort into it. I was a lot more interested in kind of the beauty industry, and I would watch YouTubers and stuff that did predominantly beauty. And then I feel like as I've got older, I've just sort of, one, got to grips with what I like for my face. I feel like only by trying different things out can you actually decide what you like on your face with your personal style. I've just definitely got a lot more confident in my natural face for the most part. There are exceptions, of course. Some days you just wake up and you feel a bit gross. And I have eczema and I have dry skin, and sometimes, again, just makeup is not an option. And so getting comfortable with what my face looks like and just using makeup to accentuate the features that I already have. It's been a while since I've just like played with makeup, and this isn't really going that far out of my comfort zone, but I have really enjoyed this look on a lot of people recently, so I'm using what I have. Up until this point, this is what I do every day basically before I go to work, and I'll just put a bit of blush on and some mascara and call it a day. So it doesn't feel that far removed, but I'm just excited to try something a little bit different. And I would encourage you to, if you're feeling a bit like in a rut, don't be afraid to try different things, especially makeup, because you can just wash it off. It just comes off. So it's not that deep. Let's try this interesting concoction. That's actually quite nice. It just kind of tastes like it's a cinnamony mixed spice coffee. I like that. Anyway, returning to the makeup. So I've got a couple of different blush options. This is my everyday blush for this time of year. It's like a corally terracotta peach tone, and then I have another blush, more red toned coral, and it does have a little bit of shimmer. And then I have this shimmer brick, blush block. It's just this little array of warm toned pinks. It's more of like a highlighter, but it's so pretty. It has this lovely gold shimmer to it. I'm just gonna go for it. I feel like just start slow and building up is the way to go. I'm a bit worried that I'm just gonna look slightly diseased. We'll see. I tend to apply my blush kind of here, but this placement seems like it needs to be more here. So similar, but slightly different. So I'm just gonna apply it as normal first. Yeah, so far this just looks like my normal makeup. Have I just secretly been doing this whole time and not known? Maybe. I'm gonna add a bit of this pink. Okay, I think that might be enough blush. I'm gonna finish off with some of the highlighter. I'm gonna do that everywhere. Bit of my nose. Put a tiny bit of highlighter. Gonna put a little bit of mascara on. And then I'm using the number 7 High Shine Lip Gloss in a colour that has come off. Do I look much different than before? Probably not really. It doesn't look quite as blushy as the photos, but I could always add a bit more. Maybe I'll add a bit more, just get a bit more. A little bit of blush never hurt anybody. Oh yeah, that's better. And just blend that in a little bit. Eee! Oh, I really like it. I think it's really pretty. So if you've been wondering about trying a slightly different makeup style or a hairstyle, or I don't know, whatever it might be, then this is your sign to give it a go. So now that I'm looking suitably glamorous and elegant for the rest of my day, I noticed before I started filming this segment just gone that my ring that I'm wearing was telling me that it was probably time to get moving, and it's correct. I think we could go for a walk. And if you're thinking, how are you talking to your ring? Well, you'll be pleased to know that I'm not being possessed by a spirit in this ring. This is actually the Ultrahuman Ring Air. This was very kindly gifted to me by Ultrahuman, but I genuinely have found it so good ever since I got it. So in a nutshell, this is a smart ring that monitors your sleep, your movement, and your recovery, all of which have been so helpful regardless of the stage of my life that I'm in, but particularly in the last few weeks, which have been so stressful as I've been moving, getting ready to move, and just facing all of these new changes in my life. This has been really helpful to just track all the different biometrics and see how my body is responding to different stresses, to different sleep allowances, and all of these different variables which I never really put in much consideration for. This ring and the app that goes with it has been keeping me accountable with my healthy habits. I really just enjoy how inobtrusive it is in my daily life. It's not something that I have to think about. I just have to put the ring on and the app will tell me when things need to be addressed, and I can go in once or twice a day when I just want to look at different recovery scores and things like that. They've just come out with a couple of new features. One of them is measuring how many times you toss and turn in a night, which for someone who tosses and turns a lot when I'm restless or stressed is really nice to keep track of that. Another part of it that I find really useful is teaching me about these different zones, these circadian rhythm insights, I suppose. So it'll tell me at what times of of the day certain things are better or worse, when to start decreasing the light that I'm looking at, so whether that's through a screen or just with big overhead lights, and it's just really, really useful and insightful. One of my other favourite things is that it lets me know my stimulant permissible window, which is like how long after I wake up am I allowed to have my first cup of coffee. And this is not only the best for productivity and keeping on track with that, but also letting me know when I need to start tapering that off to make sure that I get a good night's sleep. Just really useful to have that little nudge to say, hey, that cup of tea that you were going to make, maybe make sure it's decaf. There are loads and loads of other things on the app which I personally haven't used just yet that are things to do with workout mode. Another thing they've just introduced is something for people who work on shift patterns. Anything where you have unsocial or just oddly timed shift working patterns where you're not waking up at the designated like 7 to 8 a.m. that they recommend and going to bed early, things that are actually in line with how regular people are living their lives. And I know that those elements would benefit so many people in my life. So I personally haven't tried that yet, but I think it's an incredible idea and I'm really, really glad that they've included it. They've very kindly given me a discount code for 10% off anything on their website. That is usable globally, so click the link in the description box below and use the code SAR10 for 10% off your purchase with Ultra Human. All right, without further ado, I'm going to finish my cup of coffee and get ready to head out on a little walk. I've got some errands to run. I tried to do a big food shop yesterday, but buying for 2 people for the week, especially when your boyfriend is 6'2" and goes to the gym regularly and has a very high metabolism, means that that is a lot of food to carry in one go. So there were a few bits that I didn't manage to pick up yesterday, and I'd really, really like to get that sorted because I just feel so much more at ease when my cupboards are fully stocked with healthy foods that I can just go to and I know where they are. So I'm gonna do that. There's also a few little house things that I want to try and pick up, thinking that I might like to do some baking. My boyfriend has had not a difficult week, but he's been very tired. The move was very tiring. He's been amazing, and I just would like to make a tasty treat for us to enjoy. It's the weekend and I think we've earned it. So whilst I've got the rest of my delicious warm drink, I think I'm gonna peruse Pinterest and see if I can find a recipe that I would like to make for us to enjoy over the next couple of days. And then whilst we're out, we can pick up ingredients as well. Does that sound good? After a little bit of searching and scrolling, I think I've decided that I would like to make a coffee cake. And I'm undecided whether I want it to be just coffee cake, coffee and walnut cake, or like a mocha cake. I'm not entirely sure which way the penny's gonna drop as to which exact flavour combination we're gonna go for. Back from a very successful but rather rainy trip out. I did not realise that it was raining. Luckily, I remembered to pack a brolly with me, but I'm home now and I got everything I think that I need and a few extra little bits and bobs. I got some ingredients for baking, and then I got some store cupboard essentials that we need to get, so some rice, some pasta, some bagels and some crackers. And then I also got this cereal, which I had the other day and it's so, so nice. And then I also picked up a couple of utensils that we don't have, so a whisk and a nice big serving spoon. The hair is back up, which means it must be time to do some baking. It has gone so dark and gloomy outside, which honestly is the perfect weather to start cooking up something delicious to enjoy cozied up a little bit later on. I think I've decided on a mocha inspired cake, so that's what we're gonna do. Let's get cracking. I'm just gonna follow a classic 6, 6, 6 and 3 recipe. So that's 6 ounces of butter, 6 ounces of flour, 6 ounces of sugar and 3 eggs. So you combine the butter and the sugar, then you add in your eggs one at a time with a little bit of sifted flour, but I'm going to change out, I think, about 40-50 grams of the flour for cocoa powder and add in a little bit of baking powder just to make up the difference. I'm using self-raising flour as well, which I feel is important to say if you're not in the UK, because you might need to make your own, I'm not really sure. So yeah, I'm gonna get cracking. It's ready to go in the oven, and there was enough to actually make 2 little cupcakes with the leftover mixture. So I'm gonna pop these in the oven. So this means there is only one step left before we tidy up, and that is licking out the bowl. If it's this good, just the mixture, I'm so excited to try the cake. Oh, I'm very pleased. I've made myself a delightful fresh cup of peppermint tea in this adorable mug that belongs to George. Look at this little hedgehog. Isn't he so sweet? So I'm using him. He's keeping me company for this segment of the video. Apologies if you can hear the oven in the background. It is just cooling down. I just took the cakes out of the oven, and I'm gonna leave them to cool for a little while before I think about making some icing for it. But I thought whilst we were waiting, we could talk about some books. So I was thinking as I was doing my errands that I have been listening to so many audiobooks recently. I don't know whether it's because I've been out and about so much, doing loads of viewings, doing lots of packing, being on my feet a lot, not being able to just like sit down and read, but I have just been rinsing the audiobooks recently. And predominantly with my audiobooks, I have been kind of drawn to a lot of Regency romances and fiction, when normally I would have like listen to all my non-fiction on audiobook. So I've been reading a couple of the books by Jane Ashford. The first is Heir to the Duke, the second is What the Duke Doesn't Know, and that's the one I'm listening to currently. I also read Infamous by Lex Croucher, The Miser of Mayfair by Marion Chesney, and then I've listened to a couple of other ones as well. The first is The Library of Lost and Found by Phaedra Patrick, which I touched on in my What I Want to Read This Summer video, which I will link up here. And I also read The Luminaries by Susan Dennard, which is a young adult, kind of like a modern day fantasy setting, which was cool. But it's been a while since I've been able to like really sit down and enjoy reading a book. I was really struggling to get through The Garden of Lost and Found by Harriet Evans, which it was a great book, but clearly it was just not quite hitting the spot for me. So I was a little bit nervous to pick up the next couple of books that were on my TBR, but I have been racing through them. I think part of the reason is because we only just got Wi-Fi in this flat yesterday, so if I wanted to switch my brain off and, you know, consume any media, it had to be in the written word. And so the first book that I absolutely devoured in less than a week was Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. This is just as good as the reviews told me it would be. It's this great story about this girl, Evangeline Fox, who has always believed in true love, love at first sight, happily ever after, all that kind of stuff. And she is absolutely brokenhearted when the love of her life decides to marry somebody else, and she goes on this quest to this magical part of the kingdom to try and undo her actions when she tries to kind of stop the wedding that her beloved is supposed to be taking part in. And this is one of 3 books, I believe. She also joins up with this fate called Jax, or the Jack of Hearts. Is it the Jack of Broken Hearts? Prince of Hearts, that's it. They kind of team up, but they also are definitely not a team, because Jax most certainly has a plan of his own. So yeah, this was super fun, and I read it so quickly, and I really love the way that it's set up. It has these like newspaper clippings throughout it. All the characters are really great. I just loved it, really loved it. And I already am looking forward to reading the second installment for this. And then the book I'm reading at the moment, which is also absolutely incredible, is The Household by Stacey Halls. And I'm probably about 2/3 of the way through the book, and I will probably also finish this at the end of the weekend. So this is kind of based on a real place that was founded by Charles Dickens for fallen women, or women who have just like found themselves in unfortunate circumstances and struggling to get back into society. So that could be anything from someone stealing to make ends meet for their family, to someone being on the streets and being a prostitute, a whole host of different kind of backgrounds for these women and girls. And the house itself is almost like benefacted, is that the right word? There's a rich woman called Angela Coots who is giving money to this house and to these kind of girls' education and such. And she herself finds herself in a position where her stalker of many years is released from prison, and she is just kind of in this cat and mouse waiting game, waiting to hear from him. And there are so many incredible female characters in this book, and all of their lives sort of come together at Urania Cottage, which is this house for the girls, and it is just so good. Stacey Halls is probably up there as one of my top 2 favourite historical fiction writers. I just think every single book she's written is phenomenal. Could not recommend this more. So that's what I'm reading at the moment, and really enjoying it. I would recommend both of those books if you're in a bit of a reading slump at the moment, depending on what your tastes are. Definitely pick one of those or both of those up and let me know what you think, or if you've read them, let me know what you thought of them as well. So good. I'm just gonna finish off my tea and look up on my laptop a recipe for some coffee buttercream, because I never remember the ratios that you need for icing sugar to butter to make buttercream. So I'm gonna have a quick look at that. And yes, I am sat on the floor. It's so underrated, and I used to live in a flat that had such hard floors, no rugs, no carpet, and it was also just like always felt kind of grimy on the floors. Didn't matter how hard I tried to clean them or mop them, I just never felt comfortable putting my stuff on the floors. And yeah, it feels really different in this place, and I'm someone who just loves to be sat on the floor. It makes me connect to my inner child of being like on the floor for like story time. So we're gonna stay on the floor, and I'm gonna look up this recipe and enjoy my delicious cup of tea on the floor. Look at how delicious this is. is a significant amount of icing left over. I think I misjudged how much I would need, but this is the cake, and then it made 2 little cupcakes as well. But it's actually my birthday next week, so I'm wondering if maybe, can I freeze buttercream? Will it keep in the fridge that long? I don't know. I'm gonna do a little bit of research, but I am so pleased with how this turned out. I'm so pleased with how this turned out. Little mocha cake. So yummy. I am so unbelievably pleased with how that cake turned out. It smells so good, and I'm so excited to share that in a little while with George when he comes home from work. With that being said, it's probably time that I start thinking about making some dinner, so I'm going to leave this vlog here. I feel like we haven't really done that much today, but I've had such a lovely afternoon, and I'm so thankful that you're here to enjoy it with me. So thank you so much for being here, friends. It really means the world to me that you're here. I hope that when you have the opportunity to have a moment to yourself, whether that's 10 minutes or an afternoon or a morning or the full day or even a couple of days, if you have a whole weekend, just treat yourself to doing things that you really enjoy doing, and maybe try and find an incentive as well for doing those tasks which you need to do but you don't really want to, like I did this morning when I did a big clean of the flat. But I knew that this afternoon I would get to hang out with you guys and do some fun little things that just make me happy. So thank you so much for being here. Take care, friends, and I will see you very soon in another video. Goodbye.